Welcome back to ZNGP Today. Marc Márquez arrives at Misano blunt, focused and unapologetic. Asked about suggestions he might avoid winning at Valentino Rossi's home circuit, the Ducati rider dismissed the chatter and underlined his single aim: close out the season as quickly and cleanly as possible while managing risk. Misano, he says, suits his style and will be a weekend dedicated to all the Ducati fans. Boos or applause notwithstanding. Pecco Bagnaia arrives at Misano worried but focused after a bruising Barcelona weekend. The factory Ducati rider admitted he's still fighting to adapt the GP25 but said Misano's higher grip should help. Calm and pragmatic, Bagnaia wants a normal race weekend to rebuild momentum and insists he remains fully backed by Ducati. Yamaha unveiled its new V4 prototype ahead of Misano, where the factory will run Augusto Fernandez on the radical new layout and begin public evaluation. Fabio Quartararo, present at the launch and given his first MotoGP M1 as a keepsake, struck a cautious tone, curious about the tests but firmly focused on his own race weekend. "I certainly won't pay any special attention to it," he said, underlining Yamaha's dual priorities of immediate results and long-term development. Jack Miller backed Yamaha's V4 program but explained bluntly why he, and other full-time Yamaha riders, won't be able to race the prototype during the remaining 2025 rounds. With Augusto Fernandez handed wildcard duty at Misano, Miller said he's excited to follow the project closely, but homologation and parts spec limits make an in-season rider swap effectively impossible. Don't forget to click subscribe button and the bell icon for MotoGP news update. Marquez admitted he missed a chance to take a championship match point in Catalonia but refused to dramatize it. Japan is being talked about as a potential clinch venue, yet he warned it won't be easy. Closing a title requires consistent performance and a bit of luck. It would be good to have match point, but it won't be simple to close it out in Japan. His focus is process over headlines. Stay on the podium and avoid careless mistakes. Misano is steeped in Valentino Rossi lore and has historically produced mixed receptions for Marquez. Now wearing Ducati red, Marc expects both whistles and applause but says that won't change his job. Push hard on track and let the results speak. Will there be whistling? Definitely. Will there be applause? Yes. We'll give 100% on the track. He frames the weekend as a dedication to Ducati supporters while refusing to pander to narrative-driven expectations. Marquez is candid about the danger of trying to force a title too early. The pressure to close can lead to stupid mistakes. He wants to keep momentum without overreaching, a balance between urgency and prudence. Let the need to close it as soon as possible not lead me to make stupid mistakes. The message is a mature one. Sustain advantage through discipline, not desperation. Marc reflected on life after being champion. Less pressure can paradoxically invite complacency and errors. He stressed that top riders must manage moments, people and distractions to stay at the top, not just rely on speed. After a title you can relax and that brings mistakes. Management is the difference between a good rider and a champion. Experience, not just talent, separates champions who remain consistent from those who fade post-success. Asked about helping Pecco Bagnaia, Marquez was measured. It's not his role to fix Bagnaia. Ducati and Bagnaia's own team handle that. But he wants the factory to thrive because progress helps everyone. Better feedback from both riders accelerates development that benefits him too. It's not my responsibility to help Pecco, but Ducati's progress helps us all. The line acknowledges both competitive instinct and collective interest in a stronger factory program. Marquez's Misano message was plain and purposeful. He'll race hard for Ducati fans, ignore social media narratives, and prioritize smart risk management over headline chasing. With 7 rounds left, his plan is steady: push where necessary, avoid reckless gambles, and let championship maths play out on merit rather than theater. Bagnaia called Barcelona a nightmare, but salvaged a decent Sunday by charging from P21 to P7. He's learned not to get carried away by one good result, and instead wants a predictable, solid weekend at Misano. Misano is definitely a track with much more grip than Barcelona. I hope to start well on Friday by having a good weekend, better than the last three. After oscillating fortunes, the priority is stability. Make the Friday base work and avoid firefighting through the weekend. Bagnaia underlined a professional, respectful relationship with Marc Márquez. He treats conversations with fellow factory riders as chances to extract useful insight rather than as sources of tension. When you talk to a rider like him, you try to get the most out of what he can give you. That pragmatic approach, mind teammate experience for usable feedback, is key when translating small setup gains into confidence. Bagnaia stressed Ducati are following our own path. With the GP25, he admitted the competitiveness he occasionally finds hasn't yet turned into consistency. Corner entry issues remain the main frustration. He knows the package is being pushed hard, but that some setups suit him less than others. When the margins are small, repeatable feel beats one-off speed, and restoring that feel is Ducati's immediate challenge. Rather than bold promises, Bagnaia wants a normal weekend and hopes to be in Q2 from Friday. A top 5 finish would be a meaningful marker of progress given recent struggles. I'd like to win, but more realistically, I'd like to fight for at least a top 5 finish. A pragmatic target like top 5 allows the rider and team to rebuild confidence without inviting undue pressure. Bagnaia emphasized hard work, reflection and faith in Ducati's backing. He said overcoming this phase is teaching him about his own worth and firing his desire to improve. He trains hard, remembers past form and knows the factory hasn't lost faith in him. Psychological recovery is as important as technical fixes. The team's public support and Bagnaia's mindset give him the best chance to rediscover top form. Bagnaia's tone is steady, no drama, only process. Misano offers a familiar circuit and a chance to measure whether Barcelona's small gains can be turned into consistent weekend performance. Ducati's task is to convert empathy and parts swaps into repeatable feel. If they do, Bagnaia's quiet confidence may yet translate back into results. Yamaha has abandoned its long-standing inline-4 architecture in favor of a V4 prototype, a change conceived internally since 2021 and now committed to as a company-wide project. The move requires new thinking across chassis, aero and electronics as Yamaha attempts to close the competitiveness gap. We had to change our structures and our way of thinking. It's an unprecedented change. Takahiro Sumi's statement. Shifting engine architecture is one of the most consequential moves a factory can make. It affects packaging, weight distribution and aerodynamic choices, so the first track outings are as much about finding direction as outright lap times. Test rider Augusto Fernandez will be the first to take the V4 into a competitive setting at Misano, running the prototype during the weekend to gather data and headline the bike's public debut. His feedback will shape Yamaha's next steps and influence whether the V4 becomes the factory's 2026 focus. Quartararo welcomed the V4 development but was clear about priorities. He'll observe results and talk with the team, yet his race weekend remains the priority. He also revealed a personal moment, receiving the M1 he debuted on, which underlined his long-term ties to Yamaha even as the manufacturer pivots. I'll be curious to see what he does at the end of the tests, but I certainly won't pay any special attention to him. I'm focused on my weekend. Riders often need to compartmentalize test curiosity and championship focus. Quartararo's reaction was a textbook example of that discipline. Yamaha's V4 work will be judged on multiple metrics: reliability, packaging compatibility, electronic mapping and how quickly the new layout can reach parity with the inline M1. Quartararo set a pragmatic milestone in Barcelona. Being within half a second of the current bike would be a meaningful early sign, but the Misano debut is the real public test. Early prototypes rarely deliver instant competitiveness. The first outings are diagnostic exercises that inform whether a full-scale switch-up is feasible and fast enough to justify mid-season development resources. Yamaha's leadership stressed this isn't just an engineering tweak but a cultural and structural change, uniting resources in Japan and Europe to back the V4 project. That investment signals Yamaha views the V4 as a strategic pivot rather than a stopgap. "We had to unite Japan and Europe. It's a challenge for the entire company." Misano will deliver the first public verdict on Yamaha's V4 gamble. Raw times matter, but so do stability, feedback quality, and rapid learnings. Quartereros. "I won't pay special attention." Line captures the sensible split in priorities. Watch the prototype, but treat the weekend and the championship as the immediate job. If the V4 shows promise, Misano will be remembered as the start of a major Yamaha story. If not, it will still provide vital lessons for the months ahead. Miller welcomed Augusto Fernandez's role as the V4's first public race rider and stressed how different a race weekend is from a private test. Everything is tighter, faster, and more scrutinized. He's hopeful the debut will be trouble-free and deliver useful data. "It's really exciting. A race weekend is so different to a test day. I'm looking forward to watching how the weekend plays out." Jack Miller's statement. Having a race condition wildcard gives Yamaha an accelerated, high-pressure data set that no closed test can replicate. The immediate reason Miller can't jump aboard the V4 is regulatory and logistical. Yamaha has already homologated 2 fairings for the season, and the V4 uses a bespoke fairing that can't be retrofitted under the current rules. That constraint blocks full-season riders from switching to the new layout mid-campaign. "It's not possible." Not from lack of trying, but we've homologated 2 fairings already. When a factory uses its limited aero updates, it constrains any mid-season architecture change, even if engineers and riders want to accelerate development. Beyond aero caps, the V4's packaging differs considerably. A narrower but longer layout, different gearbox ratio needs, and bespoke components mean it isn't a plug-and-play swap into the current M1 spec. Miller flagged gearbox and spec incompatibilities as additional barriers. Structural differences between engine architectures often cascade into many peripheral changes, the kind that are difficult to roll out to a race rider without a dedicated development program. Yamaha's plan is pragmatic. Augusto Fernandez will run the V4 as a wildcard at Misano, and is expected to appear again at Sepang and Valencia, while race riders will sample the prototype during official post-GP tests, including Monday at Misano. Those measured steps let Yamaha collect race data without compromising riders' championship campaigns. Miller welcomed the V4's arrival and looked ahead to 2026, when he'll share the garage with new teammate Toprak Razgatlioglu at Pragmatic. Though he can't contribute race miles to the V4 this year, he remains keen to help the project when rules and spec permit. For now, he'll watch closely and back Fernandez to deliver reliable data. Miller's attitude keeps him aligned with Yamaha's long view: accelerate learning where possible now, prepare to race develop the concept in 2026. Miller's verdict was practical. Enthusiasm for Yamaha's V4 is high, but the combination of homologation limits, bespoke packaging, and parts spec rules makes an in-season rider swap unworkable. Yamaha will gather race data via Augusto Fernandez wildcards and controlled tests, with the expectation that full race development involvement from Miller and the rest of the grid will come once regulations and parts programs allow, most likely in the 2026 cycle. Thanks for watching ZNGP Today, and this is your MotoGP news update. And see you next time!